Can everybody hear us okay? And I haven't required
Yes.
anybody to show your video, but
Yes.
if you don't mind, it's okay because we do have a guest here. So at least one or two of you would be nice instead of looking at me all the time or blank screen. And so feel free to ask questions along the way or toward the end. Let me introduce my friend here. Jasmeet Singh is he's a celebrity at SEMO because he's a SEMO alum. So he did his undergrad degree there and was known and loved by so many of us, still is. So now he's been in Chicago now for, let's see, how long now have you been up there?
About 3.5 years now.
Wow, it's been that long. Oh my goodness. Almost. So I've been teaching world religions for a little while, and he was always so nice to come and talk about his Sikh faith to fellow students, and it was always interesting. He always does a good job. So I thought, let's try it one more time. So Jasmeet, you had the floor, so go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Gentry, for that introduction. Yeah, the pandemic made things like this possible. Otherwise, I couldn't think of coming to this thing. But yeah, I'll get started. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Let me just bring Windows over here. All right, so Sikhism, that's basically what we are going to talk about. And the first thing, or how I like to do things, is ask about, does any one of you have any view or anything you guys know about Sikhism or have heard or have seen in the news, media, or anything? Anyone want to jump in?
Yes, thank you. I have.
All right, go ahead. What did you hear or what do you know about it?
Well, I grew up in Southern California, and there was a very large Sikh community in Los Angeles where I lived for over 15 years. And I know that they also have public places that people can go to ask more about the religion or share a meal with them. And I'm a Self-Realization Fellowship, which shares many of the beliefs that you do. So, yes.
That's
different, but the same.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, thank you. How do you say that?
A pleasure to meet you.
So glad to be here. How do you pronounce your name? Hala?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Hala. So yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, we'll come to that food thing and I'll discuss that about that too. And yes, California is actually one of the main hub spots in the US where you can find a lot of Sikhs. So that is good that we have you over here. So yeah, Sikhism is basically a monotheistic religion. We follow one God. We believe that everyone, regardless of what religion you follow, what you believe, there's only one God and it's omnipresent. It's always there. It basically was started by Guru Nanak. That's the founder's name, Guru Nanak. And it's a religion that was started about 500 years ago. So Guru Nanak was born in 1469, so that's over 500 years, but that's how long ago it started. So it's fairly new religion if you compare it to other religions which started a few thousand years ago. So it's comparatively a new religion. The next thing I would point out is there are about 25 to 30 million people across the world which do follow the faith, and it's the world's 5th largest religion. So I want to say there are about, so recently, actually this year, there was a particular survey that was conducted throughout the US to figure out about how many Sikhs are in America. And I don't remember the statistics exactly, but I'll try to find it and send it to Dr. Gentry so that he can confirm the right statistics. But if I remember correctly, it was somewhere around the figure of 700 to 900,000 people in the US who try to follow Sikhism in America. It basically teaches about the message of devotion, remembering God at all times, truthful living, equality of mankind, and it denounces superstitious or blind rituals. So, in many religions, especially like the example I would give here is Hinduism, there are some superstitious beliefs that you can give water to the sun god, and things like that. So those kind of superstitions, they were removed in Sikhism. So, and that's just an example. Moving on, Sikhism is open to all, which means that if you want to practice or come to the Sikh temple, which we call the Gurudwara, if you want to come there, you don't have to follow Sikh faith. You don't have to be of a certain attire or a particular society or a group. You can just be anybody and you are welcome there. So that's a great thing. So one thing that is of interest is that there are 10 gurus. So guru is like a prophet. So in every religion you have prophets. In Sikhism you have not one but 10 prophets, and 10 of them, basically the idea is the 10 are the same. It's, 1 and the 10 is the same, and we even have our 11th guru, which is our holy book, which is the Guru Granth Sahib. That is our holy book. That is our 11th guru, which is what we call our living guru. So when we seek guidance, we need some help, or we have questions of our daily life, we don't have to go to a physical person who does an interpretation of himself or herself. That way we have things written down, and we do what we call as Prakash, or what we call as reading the book. So open the book, read a verse, and try to understand what it says, and that's the result, or the interpretation of that should help you somehow answer the question that you have in your daily life. So it isn't one person's perspective of a particular stanza, it's you yourself reading and making a meaning out of it. That way the same sentence can mean different things to different people, so you do your own interpretation. Before I move on, any questions?
Do you celebrate any particular day, or have any particular festivals that you like to share as a community with each other? Or I don't.
Sure. Sure. So actually, yesterday we celebrated Guru Nanak's. The technical word would be the birthday. So he was born on this date, and that's what we celebrated. We celebrate the birthday of our gurus, the prophets. We celebrate the Gurta Gaddi, which is basically the day they are announced as a prophet by the previous prophet. That day is celebrated, and then of course we have one more festival that I do remember. It's the 14th of April, which is our Vaisakhi. That's a big thing for Sikhs, because Vaisakhi is when the Khalsa was born. It was the Khalsa. Khalsa is basically when we were baptized, or when we were sworn into Sikhism. That's a form of Khalsa, and I'll cover that Khalsa part later. But yeah, that's a big celebration that we do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on, here I have some pictures or some presentations of typical Sikhs, or what you may see in the public or open, just in society in general. So few Sikhs on the left, few people marching on Vaisakhi or some other auspicious day. Here we have different religious people meeting together. So the Pope, the Hindus, the Sikhs, they all coming together and probably particular meeting or something. Here you have a gentleman who is a Sikh, who is the policeman. And that's a few pictures I wanted to share. So Sikhism, what do we basically believe? And I would bring that down to three basic principles. The first one being Naam Japna, which is basically meditating. So we meditate, we become thankful to God for everything that we have in our life, roof over our head, the cars, the happiness, the family, everything that we have is his or her blessing. There's no gender that we associate, but just for the sake of language, him or her. So that's what the first thing is. We concentrate on her name and basically remember that whatever we are doing is through him or her, and that's what we should meditate and be thankful for. The second is Kirt Karna, which is basically earning or making a living honestly. So what that basically means is that you work hard and you don't try to exploit other people while doing that. So I can say that I'm working hard to rob a bank, but that is wrong. So the right way is where I'm doing it the right way and not exploiting others or not taking advantage of others. So that's a very big thing where you have to be honest and not cutting corners. The third thing is Vand Chakna. That's basically sharing what we have with the others. That could be financial, that could be your happiness, that could be, let's say, sharing our time. So basically going to the elderly community, doing community service, any sort of community service that would come under basically distributing or sharing it with our community. So that's our basic three things. Remember, meditate on God, work hard honestly, and once you are paid in terms of happiness, money, or anything that you have, share it with your community. We believe in communism, not communism, in community living. So being a part of the community, contributing to it, and not being a burden on the community, and rather, in fact, helping the community grow. So in Sikhism, we believe that there are 5 vices or 5 things that basically do stop us, or we call them 5 thieves because they rob us of getting to the actual realization or the real aim of a human life. So those 5 things which you may be able to relate to are lust, you have your anger, then you have your greed, strong attachment, which is attachment to worldly possessions, and pride. So So I hope you guys can relate to how lust can take over yourself, and you can basically rationalize doing things which, if you look at later, you'll be like, I shouldn't have done that. That's one thing. Anger, when you're angry, logic doesn't work. When you're angry, you do things which are not right. So that's another thing that stops you. Same with greed. If I'm greedy, I want to take your things. I want to do bad things, rob things, or basically greed can make us do bad things. Same with attachment. If I am attached to something, any worldly possession, any relation that I'm attached to too strongly, that can be negative. So if I have let's say a toothbrush, which is my favorite toothbrush, I used to brush it when I was 3 years old. I just have it kept, and no matter what happens, I don't want to lose this toothbrush, but if I do lose it, I just give up on everything and I start harming people. That's not right. Maybe it's not a great example, but yeah, the idea is that you should not have, the attachments are necessary. A father's relation to a child, a mother's relation to the daughter, these relations are necessary, but there's a fine line between when these relations can become toxic versus where it's the right. So maybe I'm trying to compress a very large topic into 2 statements. So I guess we can leave that for questions or later on. The 5th one is ahankar, which is the false pride. So unfortunately, in today's world, this is a big thing, because if you want to show how successful you are, how great you are, you want to show flashy cars, you want to show how big of a house you got, how many swimming pools you got, how many clothes you have. Those kind of pride related things are something that keep us engaged on, people should look at me, look at who I am, look at how great I am. But that's what makes us not concentrate our energy and focus on going the right direction, which is merging with the one, or meditating on the name, or remembering God. They would take us to the opposite direction on how do I influence people and things like that. So these 5 things in Sikhism are seen as something that we need to keep under control or gather control over, and go further with that. Any questions? Right, moving on. So just because there are 5 problems doesn't mean there isn't any solution. So we have 8 things which I want to call as the tools that you use to combat those 5 evil feelings or emotions. They are wisdom, truthful living, justice, temperance, patience, courage, humility, and contentment. So these are your tools that should, so if you're saying, I do get angry, but what do I do? Well, you look at this list and figure out what is missing and how you can control your anger. So these are your tools that people try to use, and basically, yeah, justice and all of them are really important, especially humility. So when I talk about ego, that's where humility comes in. So I have this written down pretty well, that way even after, if you want to take notes or some things like that, but I'm sure these kind of words are sort of self-explanatory. Any questions? All right. So in Sikhism, we have our 5 kakars, or what we call the 5 Ks. And these 5 are Kanga, which is a comb. So we do not, the second one is our Kesh, which is our hairs. So throughout our body, we do not cut any hairs. And the first K, which is the comb, is basically to maintain our hair. We usually tie it up in a bun on top of our head, and then we wear a turban on top. Same with any part of our body. The idea is that this human body is a gift from God. So how do we, why do we need to change that, or why should we change that? So in Sikhism, we believe in not having tattoos, no piercings, no cutting of hair. Those are beliefs that we have, because if you have a gift, which is this beautiful human body, and so why do you want to get rid of things that you have been given and which is not your own, right? We are born and we'll have to leave the world. So one day this thing will be gone. So the gift that we have, value that, and that's the basic idea. So the Kanga, the first one, is the calm to basically keep it clean, keep it maintained. The second is Kesh, uncut hair, which basically there are multiple reasons for that. One of them is it protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun. It protects your body, so basically saving you from skin cancer and things like that. So that's the scientific reason. The spiritual reason, or the more of a further deep meaning that I relate to with the Kesh, the hairs, is basically when you meditate, these hairs are your tool that help you become or reach a higher spiritual level, or basically be a tool or an aid in help you connect with God. So they help you with creating the right vibrations and help you create the aura that is needed so that you actually feel connected, or help you meditate better. So that's another way I look at it. And we feel like that's the second thing. The third one is Kara, which is a steel or basically an iron bracelet, and we usually wear it in our hand. It's meant to be a physical reminder of us, reminding ourselves of our deeds. So if my hands are going to do something, this should be a reminder, like a handcuff, that remember, these hands are meant to do right things and not the wrong things. So even when I'm taken over by my vices or my emotions, and I'm about to do something wrong, there should be a physical reminder that my hands are only meant to do the right thing, stop any wrongdoing, and help others. So that is a symbolic thing that actually is amazing to have. Fourth one is a kirpan, which is a small, about 3 to 6 inch dagger that's meant for a symbol of respect and justice. It's basically meant for protection of others. It's less of a attack tool. It's more of a self-protection tool. So when we talk about gun rights, when we talk about we should have guns, it's the same idea that we should have the kirpan, not to protect ourselves as well as to protect others. So that's what kirpan is. And the fifth one is a kachara. The kachara is basically a long boxers. So you should be wearing a long boxers most of the day or throughout the day. That way, in case of emergency, let's say a house in your neighborhood catches fire and it's the middle of the night, I don't have to get out of the bed, wear clothes, and then go out and help. I should be ever ready. So I'm at least wearing this long boxers, and I can run out and try to help my neighbor. So these 5 things are fundamental or needed by Sikhs. Any questions, any comments about these 5 or anything?
I really enjoyed hearing more about the 5Ks. We have something similar to your Bengal in SRF. Those that have Kriya yoga usually get a bangle that helps them, reminds them to align their energy. So it's almost similar, you know.
I see where you're coming from.
But thank you very much for explaining that to all of us, sharing it with us.
Do we have any further questions at this point? I'm going to give a class participation grade today if you need an incentive.
Well, I very much appreciate you going over everything. I really found it very enlightening, and I like that you mention that the Sikh sword is a symbol of respect and justice. The kirpan, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Kirpan, yes.
Kirpan. I think it probably also reminds you to protect others, as you said, those that you love, but also others in general.
Yes, that is correct. Kirpan is basically, if you look at it primarily, it's basically meant to be a tool, let's say. So I'll give you an analogy of policemen. When you see police, and that will actually bring me to the turban as well. So if you look at a policeman or policewomen, they have a particular dress, and when you see them, if I have an issue or if I need some help, I can approach them and ask for help. Same as with Sikhs. We have a turban, we stand out, and the biggest reason is that we are here to serve. We are here for helping others, helping anyone in need. So when you see a Sikh guy or a female, anyone, regardless of the gender, you can approach that person and ask for help. And as a Sikh, it is our duty, or it is our it is our duty to help other if possible. And I say if possible because if you ask me to do wrong things, I would say no. But yeah, if you really need help, I'm there. I'm all for it. So we stand out so that you can recognize us. Even if there are a million people, you can easily see that's a Sikh guy, and I can. You may not remember the 99 million, whatever, but you may remember that one person who stood out. So which happens to be positive in both the ways. How? Because if you are if you look at it positively, you stand out. So even if you are doing the right thing, everyone remembers you. But guess what? If I want to do the wrong thing, I would be the first one to get caught. So that demotivates me from doing wrong thing, and it motivates me to do the right thing. So standing out is awesome. No complaints about that. And Kirpan comes in help over there because let's say you are being chased by someone, or you feel threatened, and you come to me and ask, or come to a Sikh guy and ask, how can you please help me? So first of all, you were able to recognize me, and then when you ask for help, I at least have one small tool readily available, which is a Kirpan, just in case it is needed. And if someone is following you, or something like that is happening, this is a tool that can come handy, just like a safety tool, or self-protection measures. So that's something. So yeah, turban, it basically feels as a part of our natural being. So like you feel naked without clothes, I feel naked without turban. So it's the same way for me.
Hey, Jasmine, we've got a question on the chat. This is from Haley, who's actually hunting with her dad. It was in a truck. Well, that's interesting. She's asking, is it like Christianity? And when he was talking about the dagger, is it how we have guns in our homes almost to protect people from breaking in?
Similar, yes. But I would take it a further, not only protecting your family, protecting the community, protecting the neighbors, and yes.
And how would you compare Sikh faith to Christianity? That was the other part of the question. That's a big question.
I guess maybe you can help me with giving me some pointers on what part of Christianity, or maybe a particular thing.
There's some interesting parallels. The whole idea of the scripture as the living guru is a little bit of a parallel. Christians look at their scriptures as living, but they also look at Jesus as the embodiment of that too, of the Word of God. So that's a remote parallel. But all the whole the eight elements you listed earlier sound like the fruit of the spirits from Paul's teaching in Galatians, and the 8 virtues. And
I would say it's quite similar in terms of believing that, as far as I recollect, doing the right things and being the better person, giving back to the community. that way there are many parallels. Yes.
Yeah, and submission to God is kind of the idea, which kind of puts Christianity and Sikh faith and Islam in the same kind of, you want to do what's right before God at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And the other thing is, the Sikh faith kind of came out of the Hindu Islamic culture where it started, so it carries some of that commonality too. So in the scriptures, you have some quotes from the Quran, correct?
In the scripture, we have quotes from people of various faith. So there are no quotes from Quran from there, as far as I know. But yeah, the idea is that you have quotes from people who are enlightened individuals. So that have been various followers of faiths, such as Hindus and Muslims. So yes, Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it's basically an amalgamation of various poets, the 10 gurus, as well as I believe 44 Bhagat. Bhagat is basically a disciple or a learned man or learned women. So it basically doesn't only contain scripture from the 10 gurus, but is anyone who has a message that motivates the humanity to reach enlightenment, that is in there. Yes.
Okay, so no quotes from the Quran, but from Islam.
Poets.
Yeah, Islamic poets. Right. Great. Do we have any other questions out there from somebody?
I see a hand.
Haley had a really good question. Hala?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, do you have any pilgrimages or make any pilgrimages?
Yes and no, but yes. So twofolded answer. I'll give you an answer why I said no, but yes. So the basic hub or the biggest shrine that we have is in Amritsar, which is in the state of Punjab in India. So that's one of our biggest thing. It's called the Golden Temple. I believe I have an image of it over here. That's the shrine. That's the pilgrimage center that is a big one for Sikhs. There are a few more. The Gurudwara or the Sikh temple is located in the place where Guru Nanak was born. So where Nanak was born, that's also a big shrine. And then we have five takat. What we call takat is 5 Sikh temples or 5 places which we consider as the supreme or the main places to go. And they are spread out over India. One is in north, which is this Amritsar. You have another one about, I want to say, 30 minutes away from this place, or maybe an hour away. And then you have 3 more down south as well as the east. So those 5 places. And let me actually see if
Thank you.
Sure. That's a good thing that I can mention is, let me see where my Chrome is. I'm trying to pull that up.
We got another question, Jasmeet, about.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
One's about monotheism, about belief in one God who's always there. And then about what's your belief about animals? Do you hunt animals for food?
That's a good question. So we don't hunt animal for food. It's more so, most of the Sikhs are vegetarian. It doesn't mean that you have to be. It's more so avoid killing where possible. So it doesn't mean you have to be absolute vegetarian. If need be, if you don't have resources or if you don't have food, then hunting is fine for food. Yes, that is allowed. But that doesn't mean that you you are a bad person or you should not hunt at all. That's not the thing. It's more so do it only when it is needed and required. If you have alternative, if you have the vegetarian option, go with that. But yeah, to be frank, for example, back in the day, 1500, 1600, 1700s, when you had to prepare an army or when you had to take part in fights, you had to get trained. So you would hunt, you would train by fighting amongst yourself, and you would hunt to practice your arching skills and things like that. So that did happen. So yeah. And what I was trying to share is you have these five. So you have one in Amritsar. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, one in Amritsar, you have the Takhat Shri Keshgar Sahib. I actually visited this place in February this year. So this is Anandpur Sahib. This is in Punjab in India. You have Takhat Shri Damdama Sahib, which is in Bhatinda, which is again India. You have one in Patna, India, and the fifth one is again in India. So all of them are in India, but spread out because the gurus, they traveled to different parts of the country, and at that time India was larger than the current India. It included Pakistan, it included Bhutan, it included other countries, and over the time we divided these countries, this land, into multiple countries. But you actually do have multiple Sikh religion places, current date Pakistan. So you do have places over there. You have places in other countries as well, the neighboring countries. So yes, and I'll continue with the presentation because I believe I had just a couple more things to mention. So just those 5 things are shown in an image on where we keep those 5 things. So we have the hair tied up in a bun. We have the kanga, which is our second K, a comb with the hair. The third is your untrimmed hair. So you have a long beard. So I've tied it up, but yes, mine is also long. Kirpan, which is your small dagger, your iron bracelet, and a kachera, which is your long boxers. And I see question. Anyone got a question? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask, what is a Sikh wedding like?
Sikh wedding is ritualistically, it basically is we read a particular verse, which is called the Anand Karaj verse. We read that from the holy book, and the bride and groom take 4 rounds around our holy book, and that's the very gist of it. But yes, it is usually a long thing and usually spans out to 3-4 functions and probably 3-4 days. But yeah, it's basically the main event is where you actually get married, is where you read that verse, try to understand, and you bow down to the 11th guru, and that's how it happens. But usually it's followed by talking about the culture. It has 3-4 more things where you have songs and few other things, and wedding, and then of course after that you have the
do you throw flowers or petals at all during the ceremony like they do with Hindu ceremonies?
There's no fixed way of doing it. People do it. Some people may do it. Some, not really, no.
Related to that,
Thank you.
There's a tradition about choosing a child's name with the Granth Sahib. And
yes.
So ritual or tradition.
Yes, that's correct. So when you have to select the name of your child, you basically open up the book, and the first letter of the verse that comes, you basically have the first letter, and now you can choose the name based on that first letter. So I had J for me, Jaja J, and from J, my parents chose just me. Similarly, for when you have kids, we basically get the first letter and then it's a family decision or how you want to take it. But yeah, so talking about Langar, which Hala mentioned earlier today, Langar is basically free community kitchen. It's open to anyone and everyone, no distinguishing between religion, caste, gender, race, basically anything that you can think of doesn't matter. All you need to be is a human, and you can go there and you can take part in it. So here is a picture that I got, which is an example of people sitting next to each other, having the same food, no discrimination. Doesn't matter if you are the king of the city, if you are the president, or if you are just a regular person. You sit in the same place, right next to each other. You eat the same food, given to you by the same people, which basically is a great way of establishing humility, as well as it reminds you that you are a part of the community. And yeah, it's a self-service, a way to service the community. So here is an example of I am from Delhi, which is in India. So this is a picture taken from a Gurdwara, the Sikh temple from Delhi. And you can see the huge amounts of plates and you can't see other utensils, but plates in this picture, which are present for serving people. So, and these are the huge pots in which you have to cook food, because the amount of food cooked or the amount of people that come to Langar is a lot. So the Amritsar, the Golden Temple, which is the most important temple, that place serves about 100,000 meals every day. And that's on a regular day. It's not even a special day. So things like that are great. So this is the Golden Temple, and every Sikh temple does have Langar. It may have some fixed days or timings, but yes, anyone can go there. So that's a great thing, which actually can be seen when you have various calamities that hit, call it hurricanes or anything like that happens. There are mayors and the local policemen, they come out and they tell you, if you run out of food or if you're hungry, go to the nearest Sikh temple and you will be able to get some food over there. You can get local shelter over there. So in cases where things like this happen, the Gurdwaras or the Sikh shrines, they open up their gates so that you can come stay, you can get food and basically have the human rights that you should. That's the Gurdwara Bangla Sahib, Delhi, from where I'm from Delhi. So this is the Gurdwara that I used to go to. And here are a few pictures or examples of people in the UK doing Langar, giving examples of about 50,000 people taking part in Langar. And I guess I said 100,000 previously, it's 50,000, so my bad for that. But yeah, 50,000 taking part in Langar every day at the Harmandir Sahib, which is the Golden Temple. You have the vegetarian food, so you usually don't get meat or anything like that in Langar. It's all vegetarian. There's some statistics about 6 million people being fed globally every day in Langar. And yeah, a few more statistics. So if you see look at the board which you have talking about Langar at a Gurdwara, it does say that it's a common kitchen regardless of caste, creed, sex, age, or social status. Anyone can be a part of the Pangat, anyone can be a part of the Langar, and it basically is a symbolism of the brotherhood. And I believe I have a few more pictures. So you have female being part of Sikh community. You can see the white turban, beautiful smiles, great like that, and a few more pictures. So I believe that is, yeah. So here is a married Sikh couple, probably just the marriage day or the day after. Yep, any questions? Now I can take more questions, go ahead.
Surely we got a lot of questions out there.
actually cannot see the chat, so I'm not sure if someone can read out the questions if there are any in the chat. I appreciate that.
You can type a question, you can ask it. So do you have any, what am I trying to say? Jasmine, what are some of the challenges you've had at living as a Sikh in America now for?
The biggest challenge is unawareness or people not knowing about Sikhs, confusing them with Muslims. And the biggest example is after 9/11, the first person he was basically a local shop owner and he was just running his regular business. Uh, uh, I don't want to categorize the person who came in, but the person, of course, he was very angry about 9/11, came in and he shot the Sikh guy for taking out his anger about 9/11. So his name was Balbir Sodhi, and the person actually went to jail. And I believe 3 or 4 years ago, the person who was shot, his brother had a phone call with the person who actually committed the crime in the inside the jail, and they forgave him. And so it's a beautiful story. It's available on YouTube, and things happen. But yeah, that is unfortunately what does happen in America, is that people are not aware and they take us for a wrong identity, or they categorize us, or have wrong assumptions, because many things that they do or say don't apply to us. Because if you ask, are Sikhs Hindus? No. Are Sikhs Muslims? No. It's a completely separate faith. So unfortunately, the media plays a big role in today's society. So you see these pictures, these videos, and you categorize something I don't know, which looks similar. These are probably Muslims. Let me direct my hate to that. So there are a lot of hate crimes related to Sikhs in the US. So that's just not just the US, other countries as well, but as well as in the US. Yes.
We got some questions rolling in now. Let's see. One is from Elise. What is your personal favorite part about your religion?
The personal favorite part about my religion is giving back to the community. So I really like helping anyone and everyone I can. So, for example, what happened was I was walking in near the downtown Chicago, and a person was standing asking for help. And yes, there are questionable people who you don't want to give money to, but he was saying, hey, I don't want your money. All I want is, here is the restaurant. Like, he was standing right in front of the restaurant. It was I don't remember which restaurant, but he was standing right in front, and he was like, I'm really hungry. I want to eat something, but I don't have the money. So come inside with me, buy me food, and help me. So doing that was a really happy feeling for me. I was so happy and naturally happy about that. And recently, another experience happened with me. I went to get my driving license, and the same day, or unfortunately, what happened was the card system, it stopped processing payments. So they said, you cannot use your credit card, you can't use your debit card. You can only use cash to pay $30 for a license. So while coming out after I got done, I saw a family, a mother and a father and a child. The child might be a year or two old, a very young child, three of them standing in the line. And as soon as the security guard came out and told everyone that, hey, you only can pay cash for getting your driving license, they felt bad, because I mean, I only heard a small part of the conversation, but I was able to paint a picture, which was like, they don't have cash. They were only going to pay using their credit card. So they had to go back. So after I went inside my car, I thought of the whole thing, and I was like, maybe this is the calling to do something. So I went outside, went to them, I asked them, so how are you guys doing? Is there anything wrong with you? You guys are going back into the car. The wife seemed pretty unhappy, and I mean, you can see on the faces that they were really unhappy. So she said that, yeah, we came. I'm a DoorDash delivery person. If I don't get my license, it may not be possible for me to continue work from tomorrow. And we took off our work today. Me and my husband took off to come and do this thing. And now we don't have cash and we can't do that. So I gave her $30 and they were really happy. And eventually I did give them $60 because the husband also needed his license. So giving back to the community, because once initially her reaction was, oh, he'll get paid tomorrow. It was Thursday, so he'll get paid tomorrow. He can give you the money back. All is good. But when I told her it's fine, just keep the money, just get the thing done, just be on your way and work things out. She literally started crying, and even after coming home, I could not forget her giving me a hug and just her crying. But yeah, just giving back to the community is something which is my favorite part, because it feels like I'm not an individual. I am a part of the society, and the actual happiness that you get when you help others, you don't get when you buy stuff, when you buy a laptop, when you buy big things. That doesn't come from that. So
We got a question from Jacob, who said or asks, how has COVID-19 affected you in your faith?
how has COVID-19 affected me and my faith? I mean, how we take things are taking things positively. So we believe that everything happens for a reason, and there is positivity to it. So be motivated. Yes, it's a bad time for everyone, but the faith plays a big role in us being high spirited. So the idea is take precautions, do what is needed, and help those who need the help. So faith comes in fairly handy, and it has impacted many things, like the Chicago Gurdwara. They had to close down, so they are doing things online on YouTube and things like that. But yeah, things are continuing that way. Not sure if I answered your question. Was it Jacob or Eric?
It was Jacob.
Okay, Jacob.
Let's see. I've got a couple questions from Haley. She said, like Christianity, we pray to God and give him thanks for all he gave us. How does your religion show thanks to your God for all the blessings you've been given? And
so there's no, that's a great question. So the three principles, which is Naam Japna, which is the first one, which is being thankful, meditating, that is how we do that. So for example, before eating food, we do a small prayer, just like probably similar to Christianity. Every time something good happens, we contemplate on how blessed we are, how thankful we are. So every action that happens in our life, whether it be getting a job, whether it is, having food on the table, everything is his or her blessing. So we should be always thankful. And the way to be thankful is by doing ardas, by doing a prayer. So that prayer, the real prayer doesn't have any words, which basically what I'm trying to say is whatever comes from inside is a prayer, right? So whenever you feel like, yes, this is a time to thank, that is when that prayer comes out from you. So that's how you should, or how we do, yes.
And Yasmeet, if I may, you also express your thankfulness through the service that you give. You just told us you serve and you give thanks to everyone, and you show God your appreciation that way, the one Spirit of God.
Thank you for adding that. Thank you, Ella. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody? Anna, Eric, or Emily, Carly, you guys got any questions?
I can add one thing that maybe is fairly obvious by now, but in Sikhism, that the male and female are treated equally, or that's how it's supposed to be. So when we talk about women's right, we talk about women not being the CEO of companies for the Fortune 500, things like that. Things like that are basically ingrained in our religion, that there's a saying of, from her kings are born, so how can she be less than those kings, right? So we value both the sexes equally. So that's also a thing I thought of mentioning.
I got one quick question. I don't know if it's a quick answer, but
Okay.
with like you said, Sikhism's a world religion, fifth largest religion in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you have people living in so many different contexts, right? And so there's pressure to maybe conform to a non-traditional way, like say, so so do you have that kind of conflict? Let's say someone would say, hey, I want a tattoo of the 10 gurus on my arm. Is there a place like that where there's people want to do something different that's non-traditional that draws the community in conflict, or do you say, hey, you choose your own path, or with that sort of thing?
I'm not sure if I follow the question exactly. So you're basically saying that, or basically asking that if people are trying to use non-traditional ways of being Sikhs.
Let me rephrase that. Do Sikhs make accommodations for change very often?
Yes. So Sikhism, the word Sikh is, so Punjabi is the language that we use. In Punjabi, Sikh means a learner, a student. So we are supposed to be a learner or a student throughout our life. So this is one big great thing about Sikhism, is where you accept everyone. So even if you may be doing things which, so let's say you have tattoos on the body, or you have things like that, that doesn't mean that I despise you, or I don't treat you the right way. It basically means you are on your own path, I'm on my own path, we all take our own path, the aim is same, hopefully you reach the same, the idea is hopefully we both can reach the same place. So since we all are learning in our own ways, everyone is following our own path, I am no one to judge you, and I'm no one to judge anyone, so I should not point fingers or say you are wrong, or you should do this, or this is the right way, don't do that, don't drink alcohol because that's the wrong way. In Sikhism, we say that we don't drink alcohol, no drugs, no nothing like that. But if someone is doing that in front of me, I won't be going to them and be like, you're wrong, or don't do this. I'll just probably go and tell them that eventually you should stop it, take your own time, or things like that. But it's very accepting. Since we are students, we are supposed, I may be at 5th grade, someone can be at 1st grade, someone can be at 12th, the high school grade. So it doesn't matter. Everyone should be treated like a human, and humanity is the base of everything. Yes.
All right, we've got time for one more question if somebody wants to throw it out there. Oh, Haley said one more. My dad asked if COVID-19 affects his religion by wearing a mask.
No, it doesn't. not sure if what you're saying is so by wearing a mask. If so, doing things that are needed for time. So let's say you are if I am in an accident and to do the surgery, you have to remove hair from my body. That is fine. The circumstances are like that. There's no hard and fast rule that you have to do this. When exceptions rise, you adjust accordingly. So if wearing a mask is needed by everyone, so be it. So no, it's not a deal breaker, or it's not something that we say is wrong. So here is the mask I got especially for turban wearers, where it's snap on and snap off. But yeah, all good.
Well, we just learned something new. There are masks for turban wearers. That's cool.
Wear the mask, people. Wear the mask.
For sure.
All right. Well, Jasmine, I really appreciate you joining us today. He took over 2 hours out from his schedule to join us. I really appreciate it. So blessings to you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was an opportunity. I know being a CMO alum, this is a great thing that I'm glad to be a part of. Thank you, Dr. Gentry, for inviting. So like I said at the very beginning of this meeting, COVID has made few things possible. For example, this. Otherwise, I didn't attend the past 2 years, right? I was able to do this face-to-face when I was at college, but not after. But yeah, here I am. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Yasmeet.
Thank you so much. Tell your brother hi.
Thank you for coming.
You guys are welcome.
Dr. G.
Thank you, Dr. Gentry.
You're welcome. I could talk a couple of minutes about our next class. So I'm having, we're having class Thursday. And so I'm basically going over chapter 12, which we have all these, which is a hodgepodge of new religions, right? So I'm basically probably going to look at the Baha'i faith and Rastafarianism and maybe one more if time permits. And I'm going to go over the last test